Welcome to Prayer Points for the Harvest, a weekly communication designed to equip you to pray for the fulfillment of the Great Commission. This is Jonathan Soloria. In the Great Commission, Jesus tells us what he wants his followers to do. He wants us to go and make disciples. But he also tells us how he wants us to do this. It's not just a random arbitrary act. There's design and purpose and intentionality. First, he says we're to baptize. Baptize them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Baptism is the first step in the disciple-making process. Baptism is not a graduation. Baptism is an initiation into the family of God. Through baptism, a new believer identifies with the death and burial and resurrection of Jesus. As the candidate stands in the water, it represents death. As the candidate goes under the water, it represents laying to rest the old way of life. And as the person rises from the water, it represents coming up to live with Christ in a brand new way. It is so important that we baptize believers as soon as possible after conversion. If a believer lacks the courage to follow Jesus in obedience to the command of baptism, he or she will likely lack the courage to follow Jesus in more difficult commands that he wants them to obey. So we must baptize immediately. Baptism is the first step in the disciple-making process, but it is not the last. Not only does Jesus say we must baptize in the name of the Father, Son, and Spirit, but he then goes on to say that we must teach them to observe everything that he commanded. Now notice here what Jesus does not say. He does not say, teach everything that he commanded. Instead, he says, teach them to obey everything that he commanded. The kind of teaching that Jesus here commands is not teaching that informs. Rather, it is teaching that transforms. Jesus does not want us simply to teach people what his commands are. He wants us to show them how to do them. He wants to give them practical training in matters pertaining to obedience. But here's the catch. We cannot teach someone to do something that we ourselves are unwilling or unable to do. It is vital not only that we teach the commands of Christ, but that we teach how to obey them. And not only that we teach how to obey them, but that we obey them ourselves, so that we can show people and demonstrate for them what obedience genuinely looks like. Only as we do this will we make disciples who make disciples who make disciples. I encourage you this week to pray for the fulfillment of the Great Commission, and to take your prayers and to put them into action. Pray first that the church is effective in its mission of going and making disciples. Pray that more baptisms result from our attempts to share the gospel. Pray for opportunities to teach others how to obey everything Jesus commanded. Pray for strength to obey the commands of Jesus yourself. And thank God for the privilege of following him and leading others to him.